In this tutorial video, we're going to be seeing how to use class variables in Java. Now, up until now, we've already seen two types of variable sets. The first was local variables. So just to recap briefly, local variables are defined inside methods, constructors, or blocks. They will be declared and initialized within the method, and the variable will be destroyed when the method has been completed. So as you can see in our example here, we have our class dog. Inside that class dog, we have a method called increaseAge, and inside that method we have our local variable named age here. So moving on, we also saw instance variables. Now these variables are within a class but outside any method. These variables are instantiated when the class is loaded. So instance variables can be accessed from inside any method, constructor, or blocks of that particular class. So as you can see, we have our class dog here again. We have our instance variables initialized at the beginning here, and they are outside of a method. They're not in any method. Now this brings us to the class or the type of variables that interest us in this video here. And those are known as class variables. So class variables are variables declared within a class but outside any method and with the keyword static, like so. So to best explain what these variables are for, let's say when a number of objects are created from the same class, they each have their own copies of instance variables. So in the case of a dog, the instance variables are its name, its color, its age, for example. Those are the ones we've been using up until now. So each dog object has its own values for these variables, stored in different memory locations. But sometimes you want to have variables that are common to all objects. And this is accomplished with the static modifier. So fields that have the static modifier in their declaration are called static fields or class variables. So these, they're associated with the class rather than any object. So this is what a class variable looks like. We have the name of the class called dog here, and then we have we're initializing two class variables, ID and group, and as you can see, they have the prefix static in front of them. In the next step, we're going to apply them to a practical example to see exactly how we can use them. So meet me in the next. So now let's try to use a class variable in our program here. So for this example, let's say we wanted to display the number of instantiations of a object. So each time we create an object, you want to give it a number. So we want to do that, we need to use a class variable. So let's start by initializing that class variable. So we're in our class dog here. It's going to be private as usual. And remember, because it's a class variable, we have to have the prefix static in front of it. So static. It's going to be an int type because we want to assign a number, and then let's call it ID, like so. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a counter in each constructor. So ID ++, so we're adding 1 each time for each constructor, depending on the constructor you want to use. In our example, we'll probably use the parameterized constructor here. Oops, I put this in my code in here. Okay. So again, add the counter to both constructors. And because the variable is private, we need to obviously assign a getter or an accessor to it. So let's go to our getters here. So getters are always public. and because it's a class variable, we still have to say that it's a static one even for the getters. So because we want to access a class variable which is static, we must use a static accessor. So public static int get ID, like so. Then obviously we want to return the variable ID. Okay, so that's our getter. So now we're going to go to our main program here. Okay, as you can see, we've already got two instructions to create two objects, dog. So what we're going to do is, after each instantiation of an object, we're going to print out the following. So the number of dogs created is like so. Then add this instruction. So the name of the class, which is dog. That's the name of our class, dog, and then get ID, because that's our accessor method. Okay, and then just close parentheses here, semicolon. Okay, we're going to copy this and just add it after the second instantiation, like so. Let's run it. And as you can see, after each instantiation, it tells us how many objects have been created. So 1 and 2. So that's how you use class variables with Java.